Hello, people. One more talk for Poliglotar 2021. And now we have Plinio De Toni. He's going to talk about motivation in language learning, how science can help you to do what you would like to be doing. Plinio is a psychologist and also language lover, right? And this presentation will be in English. And we have interpreting into Portuguese, German, yeah, those two languages, German and Portuguese. So select the channel if you want to listen to one of those. Okay, Plinio, you have the floor, please.
Hey, Juliano. Hello, everyone. Hope all is well with you guys. So first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for having me. It's such a pleasure to be part of this conference. And I'm going to share my screen, but I think you got to allow me to do it. I'm trying to do it, but it says here, host disabled participant screen sharing.
I think now you can do it.
Okay, awesome. So let me just share my screen here. Okay, there we go. All right, so let me just change my settings here for me to see everybody while I see my slides. Awesome, there we go. Okay, so first to start, I'd like to say I'm going to time myself because I'm really trying to do that in 40 minutes, 40 something minutes, because I want us to have some time for questions and this kind of stuff. So motivation in language learning, how science can help you to do what you'd like to be doing. So first of all, I'd like to just introduce myself here a little bit. I'm Plinio Marco De Toni. I'm a psychologist. So I'm actually a professor at the Midwestern State University, Universidade Estadual do Centro-Oeste here in Paraná. And I also advise master's and doctorate students in bilingualism, which is my field. So I studied the psychology of bilingualism. And within this field, actually, I'm interested in three different things: children bilingualism and family language policies, so bilingual families. Also, the neuropsychology and neurolinguistics of bilingualism, so the bilingual brain, so how the brain works in bilingual people. And also, which is the main topic of this lecture, of this talk, the psychology of language learning. And here I'm going to focus in one aspect specifically, that is motivation in second language learning. Of course, there are a lot of other things that we could be talking about here in this field. So personality, willingness to talk, mindset, and many other things. Actually, we're going to focus a little bit on mindset as well. But I'm going to be focusing here on motivation. So how we can really do what we know that we should be doing every day, right? In order to get better in our second language. Because everybody knows that, like all of you guys obviously knows that. Language learning, it's a very long journey, right? So it takes years, sometimes decades, to get really good at a language. Of course, everybody can learn something here and there. But for you really to be able to function in the language, fully function in the language, let's say, that takes years, sometimes decades, depends on the language. And we have to do a lot of things every day in order to get there. It's not a matter of taking classes once a week, twice a week. Everybody here knows that that's not enough. So we have to do our part, but it's hard to do our part, right? And so what I'm going to try to show here some strategies based on research studies that can help us out. That's the idea. So what is the main problem that everybody faces while you try to learn a second language, while you try to practice something every day? Not just second language, but any other thing. And here goes a specific quote. One of the enduring mysteries of human behavior is that people who can foresee the consequences of short-sighted decisions make them anyway. We make them anyway. People nap when they should be working, snack when they should be dieting, spend when they should be saving. And they do all these things despite knowing full well that they will regret them later. Yeah, that's us. Pretty much that's the human condition, right? Julian is laughing there. Yeah, it's true. Everybody knows that. And language learning is not different, right? We know that we should be doing a lot of stuff every day. We should be practicing speaking with other people, listening to a lot of podcasts, right? Doing a lot of stuff, but we can't. Because there is something else, because I'm tired, because I don't feel like doing it right now, so I'm gonna do it tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes, because tomorrow becomes next week, that becomes next day, that becomes next year. I have a friend, a pretty good friend, every year he says that this year I'm gonna learn English, but he's been saying that for the past 20 years. He always starts, he always procrastinates, that's the thing. So how science actually can help us out? That's the main idea. Okay, so what is the target audience for this talk? Teenagers, adults, elderly people struggling with second language practice. I'm not going to talk about here how we can motivate students inside a classroom. So that would be something different. So I'm going to talk about here, how you can actually put in the time, put in the effort every day for you to practice your second language. So the main question, that would be the main question. How we can do what we know we should be doing in order to achieve what we want for our future language proficiency. That's what I'm gonna try to answer today with scientific data. So that's pretty much it. Okay, there are many ways to approach this question. We could talk about different things. We could talk about personality. We could talk about some other aspect related to motivation. So there are many things that we could consider here, even aptitude or other things. I'm going to focus on mindset. That is this belief that we have, everybody has, that qualities such as talent, skills, and intelligence are fixed or changeable. So mindset, I bet pretty much everybody here already heard this term, right? And kind of knows a little bit about it because it's pretty common nowadays. But mindset has to do with this idea that I was born intelligent. I was born not so much intelligent, for example. Or I was born, I have like a gift, right? So I'm a language person. I'm not a language person. I can learn math. I can't learn math. I can draw. I can't draw. Right? So this is pretty much what mindset is about. So if all these characteristics, cognitive functions, for example, are fixed, so there is no way you just gotta accept that you are a language person or you are not a language person, you can learn language or you can't, or if we can change that. So that's mindset. And it's pretty much a belief. And considering that, there is an author that is called Carol Dweck. So this is her main book. It's called Mindset. But he has a lot of research studies. She's from the Stanford University that she came up with these two types, let's say, concepts, different concepts on mindset. There is the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. There are just ways to call this idea that we have like a fixed, intelligent aptitude or any other thing, even personality, social skills, right? Or we can change that. And that goes for intelligence, creativity, social skills, but also self-control. And here, I'm going to try to focus on self-control, because since we're going to see in this talk, if we can do what we know we should be doing every day in order to practice our language, or if we can't, that's all a matter of self-control and how we deal with that, right? Because at the end of the day, like, we want two things. We want two things. I want to get better in my let's say, my Italian, right? My second language, one of my second language is Italian. I want to get better at my Italian. So I know that I should be watching Netflix in Italian, maybe without subtitles. I'm going to struggle a lot. I'm not going to understand a lot of stuff, yeah, because Italian is like, they speak like pretty fast. And I want that, but I also want to relax. I want to enjoy my TV show. So of course, like, it would be way easier just to to watch it in Portuguese, just put it Portuguese there, or Portuguese subtitles, and doesn't matter, you know. I want the two things. That's the problem. We always want two things. And self-control is about that. How I can control myself and say, no, doesn't matter. I'm not going to understand much, but that's going to be good for my future second language proficiency in this case. Even though right now, yeah, kind of sucks, but doesn't matter. So that's the thing. So self-control. Okay, so I'm gonna start by showing you guys some research studies on self-control. Some of them probably you guys already heard about it, especially this first one. Others gonna be new. So we're gonna see how we can use all this data in order to apply that to our language learning practice. Okay. The first one, the most famous one in the history of psychology, probably, the Marshmallow Test. So what is the Marshmallow Test? Back in the 60s, a group of researchers in the States, they got a bunch of 4-year-old kids. They put these kids one by one in a room, sitting on a chair. There was a desk in front of them and one marshmallow. So they just got this marshmallow, they put on top of the desk, the table there, and they said to the kid, one by one, all right, so there you go, one marshmallow for you. You can choose to eat this marshmallow right now, okay? Or if you stay here for 15 minutes and don't eat the marshmallow, I'm gonna come back to the room in 15 minutes and I give you 2. Do you want 2 marshmallows? Yes, I want 2 marshmallows. 4-year-old kids, starving, let's say. And I want 2. All right, so your choice. There you go, 1, bye-bye, see you in 15 minutes. What happened to them? Most of them just ate it. So if you YouTube later, go to YouTube, try to find this research study, just type there, a Marshmallow Test, original research, something like that. You guys are gonna see the kids struggling a lot, like, oh man, I really wanna eat. So most of them just got the marshmallow, even before the researcher left the room, they just got the marshmallow, ate it, most of them. Some of them were able to hold themselves, no, I really want to, so I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna wait. And what they found later on, they followed these kids for decades, 30 years. So they found different stuff, right? What they found, for example, is that the ones who could wait 15 minutes and got 2, they have later on, 10 years later, so they were 14 years old, right? They had like academic and social success, like more than the others, in the sense that they were more popular at school. So I want you guys to think that everything here has to do with self-control, right? Even these characteristics that they found 10 years later. Just think about self-control, this idea of that you can control yourself and not do like the automatic behavior and do something else, right? Self-control. So they were more popular. So think about what is necessary to be popular. Social skills, try to control yourself, right? Think before doing something. They had higher school grades compared to the others who just ate it. They could handle stress more. And there is an area of the brain that is called prefrontal cortex that is right here in front of the brain that is related to how we actually can organize our behavior, think about the future, think about what we have to do right now in order to get what we want. Not right now. Right now, I want the marshmallow, but for my future, I want 2 marshmallows. Maybe it's going to be better, right? So think about the future. Prefrontal cortex. They had better prefrontal cortex functions. There are a lot of functions. I'm not going to get in details right now because we don't have time. But for you guys to have an idea, like being able to hold yourself, handle this discomfort. Like they kept looking at the marshmallow. Some of them, the videos are pretty funny because some of them, they just cover their eyes. No, I don't want to look. That's a strategy, right? for you to be able to wait. They cover their eyes. Some of them, they started playing with their fingers for them not to look at the marshmallow. Others, there is one video that is pretty funny. That's probably became a politician or something. The kid, he got the marshmallow and he started licking the marshmallow, because nobody said anything about licking, right? I'm not supposed to eat, but not lick. So he just started licking. So strategies that actually the kids used in order to deal with discomfort, in order to achieve something for the future. All right. The main idea here, just like I just said, is that how well can somebody handle temporary discomfort to accomplish a long-term goal. That's the main idea of this research study. And this is what we're going to be try to focus on how we can actually apply that for our language learning practice. Because watch a TV show in your target language that you can't understand much, of course, it's a temporary discomfort. Having a conversation on Club Poliglotar, right? With a lot of people there, speaking French, speaking German, speaking Italian, English, and maybe you can't speak much, but you are there, like for 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, you are there, try to make the best of what you can do, like with what you have. It's a temporary discomfort. So practice your language, reading a book in our target language that you can't understand half of it. It's a temporary discomfort, but it's a temporary discomfort that you are willing to try to handle in order to achieve something for your future, get better in your second language. So how well can somebody handle temporary discomfort to accomplish a long-term goal? That's the thing about this kind of research studies. So what they found, for example, also related to the Marshmallow Test, is that when these kids became adults, the ones who couldn't handle this temporary discomfort, like not eating the marshmallow right away, they smoke and drank more compared to the others who could. They had greater risk of drug use, gambling, and other addictions. They were less likely to save for retirement. And they were more likely to drive drunk and have unprotected sex. So everything related to self-control. They couldn't control themselves later on. And they procrastinate way more. Okay. And of course, like we can see the consequence of that for language learning practice, considering that it's a long-term goal, something that takes years for you to achieve. Okay, so the conclusion that we can get, at least so far, is that if the present is more important than the future, there is no reason to delay gratification, because we're talking here about two things, right? So there is this immediate gratification, eat the marshmallow right away, watch Netflix in your mother tongue, speak Portuguese, my mother tongue, much easier. Immediate gratification, I'm gonna feel good about myself, like I'm awesome, I'm really good at speaking Portuguese. I'm gonna feel good about myself, right? So if I watch a movie in Portuguese, I understand everything. Of course, I can talk to my friends, I can laugh a lot. Immediate gratification. So if the present is more important than the future, there's no reason actually not to do that. We're gonna talk about two things now. First, why is that? Why is just like that? So why does the future feel different? Actually, up to a point that the present is more important than the future. And then later, how we can actually try to change that, considering this mindset, the growth mindset, we can change that. So I'm gonna show you guys some research studies related to that. Okay, first, why does that happen? Why does the future feel different? Okay, the basic idea is that right now, for example, I know how I'm feeling. I'm very excited talking to you guys. I really like this content. I like this idea of this conference. I can see there are some people watching me with Juliano there. That's awesome, right? Pretty cool. I really wish I were there. That's awesome. Like, I feel very happy to be here. I can access my feelings right now in the present. And I can access my thoughts as well, right? I know what I'm thinking about, try to explain, put the words together here to try to make you guys understand that. I can access my present thoughts and feelings, but there's no way. It's really hard to access my future thoughts and feelings. I don't know how I'm gonna feel like next semester. I can imagine, right? Wow, if I were able to speak French, that would be great because I could do this, I could do that. But it doesn't feel like me in the future. It feels like, I don't know, like some other person. This future self, my future self, right? So it's really hard to access like this future me, this future self. And here, this image was supposed to spin around. I don't know why it's not working, but that's okay. In here, there is something related to the brain that I want to explain to you guys. That's just like that. The brain has this prefrontal cortex. A specific part of the prefrontal cortex that is part of the brain here is called ventral medial prefrontal cortex. No worries about that. Like, it's a specific area of the brain. This area, when I'm thinking about myself right now, how I'm feeling right now, what I'm thinking right now, this area is very activated right now, for example, very activated. If you ask me to think about what I'm going to do tomorrow, what I'm going to do next semester, next year, how it's going to be like speaking French, that it's a language that I really want to learn, but I'm not doing anything right now to do that. So I'm going to have to start applying all that stuff to myself. In a year, in 5 years, I can imagine that, but this area doesn't get activated when I'm thinking about my future self. Okay, but that changes from person to person. Actually, there is kind of a variation here. So, for example, some people, when they think about their future selves, this area get more activated, a little more. Other people less. Okay, so that depends on the person. What they found is that when we have this reduction in this activation, so when we have this ventral medial prefrontal cortex reduction, when I think about my future, this reduction predicted short-sighted monetary decisions. So the people who had less activation when they thought about the future, their future, they tended to save less for retirement, for example, or they tended to save less for a specific project. They tended to invest less in their future, in their own future. That was the idea. And people who had more activated when they were thinking about their own future related to something. So you can think about like your second language proficiency future, right? How well, how good you're gonna be like in that language in a year from now, if you do everything that you have to do every day, right? In order to get there. Who had more activated this area, they tended to invest more in their future. So that's why, that's one of the reasons, neuroscientific reason why, that people are different, because of brain activation, actually, when they think about their future. That's why. But the good thing is that, so you could say, yeah, so I either have it or I don't have it, right? So, because now we can change that. So the rest of the research studies that I'm going to show you guys is actually about how we can actually change that. And we can change that in actually a very short period of time. Sometimes like in just one shot, you can change this activation. This is what the studies have been showing. Okay, so the first one that is pretty interesting, I don't know if you guys already saw this study, is how I can relate my current self, my present self, so me right now, with my future self. So for example, they asked a bunch of participants this question here. Everybody changes over time. which of these pairs of circles best represents how similar your current self, my present self, is to your future self 20 years from now? Because of course, like the image that I have of me right now, maybe I have an image of myself like in 20 years from now that I'm going to be very different. I'm 42 now, 42 years old. So when I turn 62, maybe I can think, I can have this impression that I'm going to be very different from what I'm right now. If that's the case, I would probably choose, I don't know if you guys can see the cursor here, but I would probably choose number 1 here. Number 1. So my current self is very different from my future self. That's the feeling that I have, for example. Or it could be the opposite. So number 7, for example, here, the last one. The way that I think I am right now, I don't feel like I'm going to be very different in the future. I think I'm going to be pretty much the same. Of course, like maybe I'm going to be interested in other things, but I don't feel like I'm going to be very different. If I'm lazy right now, maybe I might think that I'm going to be lazy later on, maybe even more lazy, right? For some reason, I don't know. If I feel tired all the time right now, maybe I think, yeah, I think I'm going to be tired when I get 60 something, even more, right? For different reasons. Or no, I'm going to be very different. So they asked these people, maybe you guys could, I can't access the chat here for some reason, I don't know, but you guys can think about like a number, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 7. Let's think about something for us to keep it up here. So what they found is that the more overlap people chose in the circles, more investment they had in their future, in different areas of their life. So like the more close to 7, more overlap, the more investment they found in their future. And the more close to 1, the less investment they found in their future. Because that's the idea. If I think I'm going to be very different in the future, so I'm going to be pretty much another person. What we know by doing a lot of research is that it's very difficult to invest in somebody else. We can invest in ourselves. But if I think I'm going to be another person in the future, why would I invest in this person that I don't even know? Right? It would be just like investing in somebody else. So people don't do that. They try to resolve their things right now. They just eat the marshmallow right away. They just put on the Netflix TV show there in their target language because they want to relax. They want to enjoy. They want to laugh right now. The future, I don't know who this guy is, who this guy is, so doesn't matter. So that's pretty much the idea. But we can change that. This is what the research has been showing. So we gotta find a way to make the future matter. And by doing that, we're gonna start investing more in the future. And as a consequence, we're gonna start doing things right now in order to become these future selves, right? This future me. So how we can do that? So let's get to the how now. So far we saw like the why, right? Why that happens, the brain, all this stuff. So let's get to the how. One of the ideas is that we can think about the future reward first. Okay, the future reward first. So I'm gonna just give an example, and of course, like I don't know if you guys noticed, but I just put the reference for all the slides. So if you are interested, you can email later. I can send you all the references for specific research studies too. So how we can, so first this idea, right? So putting your future second language self, like you in the future speaking that language first. Just an example, a research study that showed that, and things like some technique that you can apply actually. For example, let's say that I'm gonna get this example, right? So you are watching, you chose to watch a TV show right now. Okay, I'm gonna watch something right now. Supernatural, okay? I'm gonna watch Supernatural right now. I can do two things. I can do that in Portuguese, my mother tongue, so I'm gonna enjoy a lot, right? Or I can put that, let's say, in English, a language that I've been trying to improve. Probably I'm not gonna understand much, let's say, that's the case. In order to put on the subtitles, I can just think, you know what, I thought it would be really cool, like, to do that in English, because then I'm gonna learn a lot, but I'm gonna feel uncomfortable. So I think I'm gonna do it in Portuguese. Of course, nobody really think out loud, right, about that. But it's a decision that you have to make. Everything is actually decisions, right? So even when you decided to do something and then you change your mind because you don't want to feel uncomfortable, you took a decision. So one of the things that they measured is the consequence of asking the same question in two different ways. So for example, one of the ways that you can ask the question is, why should I give up the subtitles in my native language that I'm going to enjoy a lot for my second language fluency in the future that I don't even know if I'm going to get there? I don't know if I'm going to get there, maybe not. So why should I give up my immediate gratification in order to this future achievement that I don't even know if I'm going to get there? If you ask this kind of question, you are actually putting the immediate gratification first, right? In the question here, why should I give up the subtitles in my native language? Immediate gratification. For my second language fluency in the future reward. Okay. What they found is that when people ask this kind of question, they tended to choose the subtitles in Portuguese, let's say, immediate gratification. But when they asked the opposite question, why should I give up my second language fluency in the future for these subtitles in my native language? Not worth it. When they put in the question something extremely simple, when they put in the question the future reward first, when they thought about the future reward first, they tended to choose, let's say in this case here, subtitles in English, for example. No, not worth it. It would be awesome, like I would understand everything, but no, not worth it. So just by putting your future reward first in the question, thinking about that first, that change your behavior. That's unbelievable, because something super easy to do has a huge result. Another way to do that is like you are there, right? Trying to choose what to do every day. If we imagine that you are already absolutely fluent in your second language, just imagine, I'm completely fluent in French, in Italian, fluent. Then you ask yourself, when you have to take that decision, procrastinate or not, subtitles in Portuguese or in your target language, are you willing to give that up for some subtitles in your native language? Seriously, you are already fluent right now. Okay, if I put the subtitles, are you really willing to give that up, this fluency in your target language? Awesome. For these subtitles in Portuguese? No. So when people ask these kind of questions, they tend to choose the future reward to help them to decide what to do right now. Okay, another study, right? I don't know if you guys already saw this story, kind of legend, nobody knows for sure. But the thing is that back in the 16th century, there was a guy called Hernán Cortés. And this guy with a bunch of men there, they invaded, which is now Mexico. And when they got there with their boats, with their ships, they found the Aztecs, right? It was Aztecas. And when Cortés' men saw the Aztecs, they were like, nah, no way we're going to fight these guys. No way, we're going to die here. Forget it. So they just stayed by the beach. They didn't want to go like inland because, of course, like the boats were there. So if the guys came, right, the Aztecs, if they came, they just would take it off, right? Get the boats and get back. get back home. So they just stay there, like, I don't know if I do, if I don't do it. And then when Cortez saw that, he was like, all right, so you guys are not gonna fight? Okay. He set fire to his own boats, his own ships. He set fire to all the ships. And then, okay, so now you guys have no option. You have to fight, because then you, and fight well, because otherwise you're gonna all die, because there is no way out. There is no way out. And based on this story that nobody knows if it really happened this way or not, but that's not the point. A lot of research studies have been done in order to test this out, like how we can use this no way out strategy in order to do what we know we have to do every day in order to get to this, let's say, future reward, right? To this second language fluency. Awesome. And there are many ways to do that. So basically the idea, what Cortez did with his men, he pre-committed their future selves, in the sense that they had to do that, because otherwise they would die. So they pre-committed their future selves right now, like there's no way out. And you can do that for your second language learning as well. I'm going to show you here some ideas based on research, but we can think about many other things. For example, the basic idea is that you have to make it more difficult to reverse our decisions. When I decide to put on the subtitles in my target language or watch something without subtitles, doesn't matter if I'm going to understand or not, screw it, right? Sorry about that. But yeah, screw it. I took a decision. So what I have to do, I have to make it more difficult to reverse this decision and say, no, what? I'm tired today, so I'm going to just watch in Portuguese. I have to find a way to reverse that, to make it more difficult to reverse that. For example, you can use timers and apps. So you can say, now, okay, so what I'm going to do, that's a rule. Okay, that's a rule. I'm going to do that. I have to start by watching the TV show, let's say, in my target language. I have to do that. And I have to do that for at least 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I can change. But the first 10 minutes, I got to do it. What people found, the researchers, is that if we start like this, you have a rule. For the first 10 minutes, you got to do it. Let's say no subtitles. And after 10 minutes, if you want to change, you can change. But for the first 10 minutes, there is no way out. No way out, okay? For the first 10 minutes. What they found is that if you start like this, people tend to keep it up. They tend to keep it up. That's not just for language learning, that's also for smokers, okay? So smoking, same thing. I really want to quit smoking, let's say. Okay, every time that I feel like smoking, I can't smoke for 5 minutes. I can't. I gotta wait 5 minutes. Or I gotta wait 10 minutes. That's a rule. And then after five minutes, if I want to smoke, I can do it. What they found is that people tend not to smoke after 5 minutes, because then this craving, right? This feeling, like this desire, Portuguese, smoking, doesn't matter. Like immediate gratification, right? Tend to pass after 5 minutes. So yeah, just keep it up. So you can use timers, for example, or apps. There is 2 apps that are awesome. One is called Antisocial, and the other one is Procrastinate. Procrastinate works like this. Whenever you procrastinate, the app, of course, like you can tell the app, right? You have to tell the app, but the app donate your money. Some amount of money. They donate to a company or to a person. You just put there before. Every time that I don't do what I want to be doing, but yeah, kind of tough, and then I decide to procrastinate, I'm going to donate $10, let's say. Probably they're going to do it. So that's a way to make it more difficult to reverse our decisions. Another one, you can add a text to the immediate reward. I remember last night, the professor talked about self-immersion, right? I remember that when I learned English, that was 6 years ago. Up to that, I couldn't put together like a sentence. And I did that for 4 days. I stayed home for 4 days alone. My wife, my kids, they went to my mother-in-law, stayed there. I stayed home, just doing everything in English. I'm going to do everything in English, self-immersion. And then I put a text to my Portuguese. I thought, every time that I do something in Portuguese, doesn't matter what, listening to something, speaking, thinking, I have to do one push-up, right? Uma flexão. I have to do one push-up. For every Portuguese action, doesn't matter what, one push-up. In 4 days, I did one push-up. Because when I thought that, my wife and my kids, they got the car, went there, and then I thought something in Portuguese. Ah, legal, vou fazer isso. And then, no, I just thought, one push-up. And after that, zero for 4 days. 4 days. Why? Because if you add a text, you start paying attention to your own behavior, even thoughts. And then you can self-control. You can control more because you are aware, right? You become aware of what you are doing.
Plinio,
No.
we only have like 10 more minutes for your presentation. Okay. and questions, but we questions, can have right? 15 if you need. Okay,
so I'm going to just speed it up here a little. You can ask somebody else to message you weekly. That really works because then you think, oh man, like the guy's gonna email me asking if I'm doing. I gotta reply, so I better do it. So that works. And you can do anti-charity, that is donate your money to a company that you don't like. If you don't do it, for example, to a bank. I hate banks. So yeah, I'm gonna donate my money, $10 to a bank. If I don't do what I'm supposed to do, I just donate the money. It's a rule that really works. So we're gonna really do it. Okay, I'm gonna skip this part here because I really want you guys to have time to ask questions. Okay, so just to finish them, a couple of ideas here. Let's get to more practice, more techniques. A way to get better at the self-control is actually try to get to know your future self. Based on that idea that, yeah, my future self is kind of strange. I don't know him, I don't know her. So try to get to know him or her. How can you do that? For example, you can imagine your future self, your future second language self, and you can do a couple of things, for example. You can try to send a message to your future second language self. That really works. This is all based on research. Unfortunately, I don't have time to explain that like really well. But for example, there is a website that you can just write a message there, right? You can message your future self saying different things. And for example, what you are trying to do right now, it's kind of stuff in order to get there. And actually they email you back in a couple of years. So you actually get a message from your future second language self in a couple of years from now. There are research studies showing that that really works. So for example, which kind of thing that you can actually write in this message? What will your future second language self be doing with the language? So you can talk about that. You can try to imagine yourself using your French, using your Italian, your English, like in a couple of years from now. That really works. You decide to do what you have to do right now in order to get there. There are research showing that. How are you investing in your future second language self now? So you can tell this future self, your future self, what you are doing right now. I'm watching this, I'm listening to this, I'm speaking, every day I try to be part of Polyglot club or something. And this is something that we can do. You can also write a message from your future self to your present self. That's another way to do it. So for example, you can write there, what would your future self thank you for if you were able to commit to your language practice today? So you can actually write there things that you are going to be doing in 5 years from now with your French, with your Italian, with your English. Things that you can do right now because you don't speak the language, but you're going to be able to do that later. So research shows that helps you a lot to do things right now. And as a conclusion, another quote. Our human nature includes both the self that wants immediate gratification and the self with the higher purpose. We are born to be tempted, and we are born to resist. It's just as human to feel stressed, scared, and out of control as it is to find the strength to be calm and in charge of our choices. And it's all a matter of science, it's all a matter of techniques, and everybody can do it. All right, so thank you so much. Obrigado, merci. Danke schön, grazie mille, gracias, and so forth and so on. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Plinio. You could stop sharing your screen now.
Okay.
And yeah, people are saying excellent talk, excellent presentation, very good, very inspiring. Yeah, that's great. First question from Josué. How to do the same thing for decades without growing tired?
Pretty good. That's the $1 million question, right? Or maybe 1 billion. Of course, like this is just one aspect, right? We just saw here one of the aspects of motivation. There are many others. So for example, other things is that you really have to find things to do with your language, like real things, like be part of your real life. Language learning doesn't work much if it's just a matter of studying the language to accumulate language. You really have to find things to do. You got to try to do things that you have to do in that language. That's perfect. For example, in my case here, just like I said, I started English 6 years ago. Up to that, couldn't say a word. And so I started doing things in the language. For example, one of the things that I started doing was talking to my kids. I have 2 kids. Ed is 12 years old and Nicholas is 4. And I have been speaking English with them, just English, for the past 5 years now. So they are my kids. I'm a father. I'm gonna be a father until I die, right? Or probably even later, or hopefully, right? Not probably, hopefully. But this is something that I have to do, and I decided to do that in English. For example, with my Italian right now, I've been speaking Italian for the past 1.5 years. And I've been supervising some Italians in Italian. So it's something that I have to do. They are interested in bilingualism. They work with that. It's my job. So I decided to do that in Italian with Italian. So it's a way I don't even have to think anymore. Like, I just do it. There are, for example, a bunch of podcasts that I listen to, not about language, about some specific content about psychology. That is something that I have to keep learning. I do that in Italian. I don't do like anything in Portuguese. So it's a way to just keep it up with your language.
And I think you also give psychology classes in English, right?
I give psychology classes in English. So yeah, I found a lot of ways for me not to have like a way out. There's no way out. I can't speak like, I can't come back and just start speaking Portuguese with my kids anymore. Of course I could, but that would be harder.
Yeah, I see. We have a question from Diego.
Hello, Plinio.
Hey, Diego, how's it going?
It was a nice presentation. I love it. But I have a question. What if you start to think too much about your future self and you forget to think about your present self, you know?
Awesome. Pretty good idea. Awesome. Pretty good question. The idea of future self, here we have to differentiate 2 things. Okay. The first thing is that pretty much what everybody does when it comes to the future, they keep just thinking about the future. Wow, it would be awesome. Someday, you know, the someday kind of kills everything. Someday I want to learn French. Someday I want to go, I don't know where. That's one way to think about the future. That's not the way that I consider here today. Why? Because the idea of the future self in this case here is like, I want to become this person. what I have to do right now, for me to become this person. I have to do this now. For example, I chose to do this talk in English for different reasons. Of course, Juliano suggested that would be nice, all right. But one of the reasons is that I prefer doing things in other languages. For me as well, for other people, but also for me. I'm doing something right now. You know, this way of thinking about the future, it's different from what most people do. Like they keep expecting that the future is going to be different, but they don't do anything right now in order to get there. Of course, the future is not going to be different. It's going to be probably worse.
Yeah.
Because
so
if you don't get better, you get worse.
We have to think about the future, but act now. So
no, exactly. So the future is a guide. It's a guide for your behavior right now. So that's the thing. So it's not like different things, you know.
We have a question from the Polyglot Pirates.
Hello, Plinio. Nice
Are you Cortez? You look like Cortez.
Yeah, actually, I would comment something related to that. And I finally understood why agribusiness burn everything. So we keep eating transgenics all the time. And that's very sad. And I think they inspired themselves in Cortez, probably. They learned through history. And I have a question. Most people that keep learning multiple languages get really anxious. Like, for example, Lao Shu McMoses, who sadly got a stroke. Yeah, he used to say that he could communicate in more than 40 languages. And I really think anxiety has something to do with his stroke, sadly. So do you have any healthy strategies to deal properly with anxiety about learning languages, multiple languages? Because there's no way to do not think about the future and do not be anxious. Thank you.
Awesome. Juro bola, that's also pretty cool. Awesome question. And yeah, there is a field in the psychology of language learning that is called language learning anxiety. So there are a lot of things here, a lot of things. For example, usually we deal more with the fact that people can't use their second language. They can't talk, for example. They get anxious when they have to talk, right? That's one of the ways to consider. There are techniques for you to deal with that. But here is different, right? So it's the anxiety of wanting a lot of stuff. I want everything. Like I want to speak 7,000 languages, right? 7,000. And they are probably the amount of languages we have. And yeah, I think one of the things that we have to do is like have very clear reasons why to speak the language we speak, and very clear, like a very clear idea of how well we want to speak this language. Of course, like a person who speaks many languages, they're not gonna be absolutely proficient in all of them. That's impossible. But if that's the idea, so I wanna get to know different languages, different levels, get pretty good at 3, 4, I don't know, like something like that. And the others I wanna get to know for me to do things basically, right? And that's a pretty awesome goal. Maybe it's not the goal for everybody, because maybe, I don't know, like I really wanna be extremely good in all my language. So yeah, focus on 3, 4, 5, maybe, I don't know. But I remember Moses, and it was pretty sad what happened to him, right? And I remember his singing. I watched like pretty much all his videos, and that he really enjoyed what he did, which was actually going out, get to know people, having like basic conversations. And I remember him saying that he wanted to get kind of intermediate in the language, because he had this desire, right? He wanted to go abroad someday to a specific country or to some countries, and unfortunately, yeah, they don't happen, but we can control that, right? And then he wanted to get better in some of the languages. So I don't know, like you have this impression, right, that he was kind of anxious because of all these languages. I don't have this impression, because because for me, I really felt like he was enjoying what he was doing, and he was okay at getting like just beginner level in 50 languages. But I think it's all a matter of goals. In this case, all a matter of goals.
Okay, Plinio, we have one more question from Francesco. It's from Italy.
Francesco, quindi parliamo un po' di italiano qui.
Do you think it is a good idea to have short-term future selves, like having your future self separated in chunks to get to a certain long-term goal?
Awesome question. Pretty good. I have a project here at the university with my students, psychology students, that we always study psychology in another language. We study psychology in another language, including Italian. But we have very specific goals, and they start from scratch. Like they don't, let's say, they don't know any Italian, zero, or English, and they choose that language, even language that I don't know. And we have very specific goals. What is the goal, for example? Okay, so they want to learn a specific thing in psychology. So let's say the concept of psychology, definition of psychology. Okay, so they just get a YouTube video, 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long, with a native speaker explaining naturally what is psychology, what psychology is about. They get this video, they listen to this video 100 times, 2 minutes. They just listen to the video, they put on subtitles in the language, they study the video, and they started imitating these native speakers in different ways. And the goal is be fluent in a week in that video. So it's a kind of a fake fluency in the sense that they what is their goal? Be able to imitate that native speaker, but not just repeating like a parrot, right? Repeating everything. They get the content and they try to explain in different ways using very specific vocabulary, but different ways, rephrasing what the guy is saying, up to a point that actually, for example, sometimes 1 minute video, they talk for 10 minutes, 20 minutes about 1 minute video. Kind of trying to stall, you know, in the sense, tentando enrolar. But about that content, it's a very specific goal. And after that, they just get another video. They keep talking up to a point that actually they can give a talk about psychology, for example, about the brain, about that specific thing. It's a very specific fluency. They are fluent in that aspect of the language, that content. I think this is a great way to do it. Focus on very short term goals, a week.
Okay. We have a comment by Paulo Ribeiro, just a recommendation for Plinio, 2,000 most common French words in context, bilingual mastery.
Awesome.
Read 1
Thanks.
page or 5 sentences per day, nothing more, nothing less, and in no time you'll be reading 5, 10, 15 pages a day.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. I'm gonna check it out. Thanks.
Yes. So I think we should end here because we already extrapolated the time. I don't know if someone has another comment or also from Zoom, someone from here. Apart from the book of Carol Dweck, do you recommend any other book?
Yes, I do. There is another one that is awesome. I have the book here. It's called The Willpower Instinct. The Willpower Instinct. And a lot of these research studies that I mentioned here, you guys can find there, and many others. It's a book all based on research, and it's exactly the Willpower Instinct. There is a version in Portuguese, but I don't recommend you guys buy the book in Portuguese. Just buy the book in some other language. You can like find the PDF as well.
You don't like translators?
No. I really wish I could do that, but not for myself, right? For other people.
Okay. That was a great talk, Plinio. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. If you guys have any question, you can contact me. You can even WhatsApp me here. Let me just put my
Muita gente assistindo aqui, viu, Plinio? Quase 40, eu acho. Até mais.
Awesome. That's
Tchau.
great. There you go. See ya. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.